I think this is it. We might actually be live. Anyway, hey geeks, welcome to the first of the Gory Geek live drawing, working on strips kind of thing. This is definitely a new thing for me, and I'm hoping that, you guys actually enjoy this. So we're coming to you live from the Abode of the Damned Studios, of course, which is pretty much just my basement. And I'm going to be working on a few illustrations and maybe even starting work on a strip today, so let's get to it, I guess. Anyway, so the way I'm kind of doing things right now is I'm laying out the strips using just standard white copy paper, doing the rough outlines of the characters, kind of more in an animation style, I suppose, using colored pencil, and then darkening up the lines, just because I think it's a little bit easier on me, and to kind of work everything out on a separate piece of paper. That way, if I don't like the way that the illustration is working out, I can just toss that piece of paper aside and then start working on another page. So I've been doing, each of these would be an individual strip, and the one thing you can't see here is I wasn't really quite sure how I wanted Clay to be in the background of this one, so I went ahead and drew him on a separate piece of paper. So now you can see him on the paper through the using the light table, and then afterwards this light is actually a little bit touchy sometimes. Come on. So there you can see how, and then I can kind of position everything into the area where I want, and I just tape this piece of paper to the comic strip board, and then just trace everything out. So I'll have nice clean lines on the actual comic strip on the bristle board, and after that I'll ink it, then take it into paint.net and put in the word balloons and add some screen tone, maybe some background. So that's kind of how I'm doing things right now. So I've got the 3 of the panels done so far, so I'm just going to be working on the first panel, which is going to be an illustration of Clay confessing, making a confession. So, as you can see here, I've already got kind of the rough dimensions of the panels. I'm using the Canson Daily Comic Strip ones, which are already laid out, which is kind of nice because they have the measurements on the page itself, and they can give you the option for either doing 3 panels or 4 panels. The one thing that I have found with them is that in order to be able to get 4 even-sized panels, if you want the break in between the gutters in between the panels themselves, you need to start at the 1/8 mark, make your first line there, then go 3 inches, 1/4, 3 inches, 1/4, 3 inches, 1/4, 3 inches, and then end off by doing another 1/8 measurement. And that gives you 4 3x4 inch panels. Since I am in the basement and it is kind of chilly today, you're going to be hearing our furnace going off every once in a while, so I apologize for that that noise. Can't be helped. I'm sorry, but it is Winnipeg after all. Alright, so let's go to it. It's just going to be really pretty much just Clay standing holding a DVD. The one thing that I have been noticing when I need to draw these strips is to leave space at the top for the word balloons. Initially, when I first started doing comic strips with the old Meet the Geeks, I wasn't leaving enough room for dialogue. I was, having things all the way up to about, 3/4 of the the illustration was taking up 3/4 of the actual panel. Hey, Aaron. So that's one thing that I kind of learned to do afterwards was, make sure that I'm leaving about roughly half the space up top to give me enough room to put the word balloons and dialogue in. So just kind of starting off with standard build lines. Nice thing about clay is there's lots of soft round lines. I always used to joke that I loved drawing him because it was just big, round, and honestly just a lot of fun to draw. One of the problems that I've always had with drawing is drawing hands, or as Ed Rosowski, formerly of Geek Tragedy, called them the devil's appendages. Hands have always been kind of, one of my weakest points. I think I'm getting pretty good at drawing them now, but, just... if there was a way to get around having to draw hands, which you can actually see in the very first Meet the Geek strips, where everybody's hands are, out of the panel. I'd avoid drawing them at all. But, unfortunately, people have hands. And now we're going with a bit old technology here, because Clay is going to be showing off a video, and we're using a DVD. Nowadays, you probably just put it onto a flash drive and you plug it into the computer, but this is loosely based on kind of a real conversation that we had. A lot of the strips are semi-autobiographical. Yeah, hands are definitely the worst, aren't they? Hate drawing them. Start working in the eyes there. Sorry if I'm not talking right now. I'm actually not used to drawing and talking at the same time, so this is going to be a bit of a learning curve, continuing to do these videos, because I'm not really used to explaining what I'm doing as I'm illustrating. I'm going to have them kind of looking off to the side there. Now, I know that a lot of comic artists, tend to do their layout directly on the panel or on the page, and using non-photo blue pencil. And I have done it that way in the past. I know some other artists, they do use red pencils as well, and then they'll just use a program like Photoshop to drop out the red afterwards, leaving only the dark lines behind. So, really, any way you want to do it is pretty much okay. I'm just finding right now that this is kind of what works for me. especially now that I have a small light pad for tracing. Makes my life a little bit easier. I suppose I should really have him doing something a bit more with that hand, but make it a little bit more dynamic. Because let's face it, we don't always just stand around with our arms dangling at our sides. But I'm feeling a little lazy today, so something about that nose is not working out for me. And I've gone with the square glasses because when we first met Clay, that was pretty much what he was wearing. Alright, so there we've got the kind of rough illustration of Clay. Donuts. I could go for donuts. It's not a donut though. Let's see, DVD. Wish it was a donut. Thumb in back there. So using a Staedtler Mars Micro 0.5 pencil here, and using a 2H lead. I actually prefer the 2H just because it still gives you a nice solid line, but it's a little bit, it's not as dark and doesn't smudge as easy as HB. Or at least, that's my personal experience. And sometimes when I'm doing these ones as well, may wind up using a black col erase pencil as well. These ones are the Prismacolor color erase, which tend to be used by a lot of animators. It was actually Laura D'Souza who turned me on to using these for doing layouts. Appealed to my sense, because I always wanted to be had actually thought about becoming an animator at one point. Was even signed up with the National Film Boards had a animation school here in the city, where or animation studio, but they also offered courses. This is going back about 25 years. So I'd actually signed up, paid my fee and everything, but right about the time I wound up getting a job, which would have required me to also work nights, and so I had to make a choice whether I was going to take this animation course or if I was going to take the job. And money wound up winning out, and I never did wind up taking that animation course, and I've been kicking myself since, because animation's always something I thought was really interesting. I don't know if I have the patience to be an animator, to be perfectly honest, drawing the same picture over and over with just slight changes, but I don't like the way that came. And that's one of the problems with going live. It's all the little mess-ups. Okay, so there we pretty much have the first panel. I'm not great at doing backgrounds yet, which is something I really need to start working on. Actually putting backgrounds into the back of the panel, but it's something I'll be, definitely working on in the near future. I'd really like to know if, the one problem with this live streaming is every time that I hook it up, the panel or the window that's supposed to be showing me what's going on just locks up, so I don't actually know if guys are seeing me or anything, but I'm seeing some discussion going on, so that's probably a good sign. Everybody hasn't just left in disgust. Not that I would blame you. Okay, so this is my Ukon light table, purchased off Amazon for $40. Actually, it's pretty decent for the price, honestly. I mean, $40, you can't really go wrong. Considering that a lot of light tables, especially if you go to art stores, will wind up costing you probably about, I've seen them for as much as, about $300. Okay, so I think that's roughly where I want to be. And so from here it's just tracing. It's not cheating because, it's my own artwork. I'm not just tracing somebody else's work. Only issues that I've had with this light tablet so far is it's very light touch. You have 3 different levels of illumination. You've got low, medium, and high. I usually use the high setting. But the touch button is actually quite sensitive, so sometimes I'll inadvertently turn it off when I'm working with it, which can be a bit of a pain in the butt. So there we go. Nice and quiet in here now that the furnace has gone off. Might neaten up that circle later with the compass, I don't know. One of the people that kind of inspired me to go live is another artist that I've started following recently called, his name's Barry McLean Jr. Found out about him through Mike Barron's website, The Bloody Red Baron. Mike Barron created The Badger, which was one of the first comic series I ever really started collecting. So when I was looking online last year to see, if Mike Barron had been up to something, I found that he was working on a new comic book series called Cue Ball, and was working with a very talented artist of the U.S. named Barry McLean Jr. So every once in a while on Barry's Facebook page, he'll go live as well, just while he's drawing. So that was a bit of an inspiration for me to try this out. It's just a matter of kind of, trying to figure out how to how to actually work it so that I could show people what I was doing. So fortunately I had everything that I needed to kind of create this after picking up a new webcam, which is one that's facing down here. It's the C920 Pro Logitech, which is a pretty decent webcam. The one that I've got up here facing me is my old web camera. I can't remember what the name of it is. That one is $30, and this one was like $100. So big change. Anyway, so now we've got the lens kind of roughly laid out here. So if we turn off that, turn that on, I kind of got what I need to start looking at inking. And there goes the furnace again. Lovely.